Hello, everybody, and
Hello.
welcome. I hope I hit the button correctly and you can hear us.
We're back.
Because there's nobody sitting at the booth, so I have no idea. So you're going to have to tell us.
Let us know. How are we doing?
And yeah, we've taken 2 months off, so everything's real, like, unpracticed and sketchy.
This is going to be a warm up. This is our like getting back into it, warming back up to it.
Yeah. So we're gone for 2 months, but we're back. And yeah. We talked about why we
Here
was
we
gone.
are.
Here we are. I was gone doing some stuff. I did 3-week workshop at the Henson, which is good. And then I did another thing, two weeks of something else that I'm not allowed to talk to because NDAs and stuff. But you'll find out eventually, I'm sure. But yeah, we're back. We're gonna chat. We think today we're just gonna chat about stuff that's happened since we've been gone and catch up on things that touch on things. It's kind of like an all news episode, or news or things to talk about.
News, movie reviews, talk about movie releases that we haven't gotten to talk about yet. There's a lot. We have a whole list of things that we need to hit. And then of course, like some of these things we might just like dabble in a little bit, but upcoming episodes we might delve into more. So there's a lot.
Yeah. Also, yeah. Reed H. Cooper pointed out I was also in Hawaii. That was a lot of things happened in the last 2 months. And yes, we're both in the studio. It's our first time in the studio.
We're both in the studio. This is not a Zoom episode. Like I'm actually back in person. I can touch art.
It's the first time in a year and a half.
Yeah, since early 2020,
like
I think.
April or whatever that was. Oh, dang.
So this is the first. This is the first time I've seen art in person a couple times. But this is the first time we're actually doing a show.
Yeah.
Like, together.
Yeah, so we're good. We're here.
It's awesome being back in the studio. I must say, like, coming back to Perception and seeing how much the studio has grown over the past year or so. Like, there's so much more stuff here. It's awesome.
We've been as you guys have seen, we've been working on the studio and doing stuff. And we still got a little bit ways to go till I think we're, like, done. But, yeah, it's changing. It's happening. Have you kissed yet? Yes, we did that, but off
Of course,
stream.
of course.
I'm not gonna. That's for us. That's not for you. So, a bunch of movies came out and a bunch of stuff happened. So let's jump into some stuff that we talked about. And if there's something that we miss, drop it in the chat and we'll see if we can get to it and if we can talk about it, because we have a list of a bunch of things. We don't have to get to everything, but
yeah, right.
We came prepared. Well, where do you want to start?
I just want to say, because we don't have to spend a whole lot of time on this, but some news broke today that really hit me really hard. So I just want to like talk about this and get it out, not get it out the way, but like, I was thinking it was just going to be like back to Cinephila today. It was going to be an easy day, but it turned out that we found out that Michael K. Williams passed, and it hit me really hard. I don't usually cry at celebrity deaths, but for some reason, this was someone that I really, really loved and the characters that he created. And so this one came out of nowhere and hit me really hard. I was a mess earlier. Dave kept trying to be like, checking in on me. It's like, are you okay? So I just wanted to like send Michael K. Williams some love and some praise, thinking about his family and hope they're all okay. And yeah, I just needed to say that and get it off my chest.
Yeah,
I love that guy.
Yeah, and he was very young, so it's sad that he was gone. And
I have this painting of, I don't know if you can see it, but this painting of Omar that I did from The Wire. It's literally on my phone case, and I totally forgot it was on my phone case till Dave pointed it out, because I don't look at the back of my phone that often. But like, yeah, his characters were really close to me.
Well, let's get in with some stuff. Do you have any preferences where you want to start, or let's just
let's just round robin.
Let's talk about Black Widow.
Let's talk about Black Widow.
So Black Widow came out on Disney Plus. It was one of those straight. Didn't even get the yeah, did it get the pay $30?
Black Widow, yeah.
What's it called? Premiere Access.
Premiere Access
on Disney Plus at the same time the movies came out. I went to see it in the movie theater because I wanted to get back to the theater. Because my AMC Plus, AMC A-list, or
AMC A-list, stubs
came back up.
Yeah.
So I've been able to go to the movies. I've gone to the movies a few times, and it's been It's been okay because there's still not a lot of people going. So I'm I
Oh
feel
yeah, the movie going experience has been okay, but the movies that are available to watch is a different story. But here we are, Black Widow.
Black Widow. So we're gonna talk about a lot of movies today, and I think generally it's gonna be no spoiler.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's not spoil today.
but
Just general
or like
ideas.
light spoilers.
Because we
So
want to go back into depth
yeah.
on some of these in later episodes.
But be warned, if you're somebody who's like a purist and doesn't want to hear anything, this is not the episode for you. But because we're going to touch on some things. But we're going to try to keep it spoiler free or light spoilers. You know. So. So what do you think? What was your overall-ish?
I saw it in the theater too. I was not going to pay $30 on top of Disney
No.
Plus for this. So we ended up seeing it in theater, and since AMC is A-list is back up, like you said, Dave and I have been going every week, and it's just been kind of like running out of steam of watching all these bad movies in the theater. I was not a big fan of Black Widow. I kind of went into it thinking like, what's the point? Because the character is already at a certain place in continuity of the movies. Not a big fan of Scarlett Johansson personally, as you all know. So I went into it thinking like, okay, I'll give it a shot because it's the MCU, but I'm not really excited about this. And it turned out that I was right. There was nothing to get excited about. What did you think?
I actually thought it was okay. It wasn't definitely not the best of the Marvel movies, but I had fun. I don't think I dislike ScarJo as much as you do. Although I don't disagree with you, I just don't hate her as much, dislike her as much. But
my dislike for her does not mean that I can't enjoy a movie that she does. Because
yeah, I was gonna ask if that
there are definitely movies that she's in that I love,
good, yeah.
and I love her in it. I don't think she's a bad actress, but Black Widow just did not. I think it was too much. I think coming out of the pandemic, I needed something that was not so popcorny. Like I wanted to go to the theater and have like a good movie experience, and this was just like, okay.
I mean, and really, this is the movie that should have happened like 7 years ago.
Yeah, if this had happened 7 years ago, it probably would have been seen in a better light.
It definitely was not a strong movie for Marvel to have come back from the pandemic with.
Right.
I think there's definitely, I think it would have been fine, and I think we may have enjoyed it if it had been able to do it later or a different time. But it was just a weird one to come back to because it wasn't that strong. Like, I don't think it was bad. I had fun, and it's going to be those movies I don't really have to watch again, maybe.
Yeah.
But I had fun. I love Florence Pugh.
Florence Pugh was the best part of it, for sure.
She's so good.
Yeah.
So I hope she's coming back to MCU and just staying in MCU forever because I love her.
Yeah, she is coming back to the MCU, and she's kind of the only character from this movie that I would want to see more of. So, go for that. She's already slated to be a part of the Hawkeye series on Disney Plus.
Yeah. Phil Bruce says, "Do you guys think the release was too late?" Yeah, years too late.
Yeah, this is a movie that Black Widow should have gotten her own solo movie way back, like when they were first introducing a character in Iron Man. Like they should have, we talked for a long time. I mean, we as in like fans of the MCU, about how we wanted a female-led superhero movie, and this should have been the answer to that a long time ago. But then we had to get through Ant-Man and the Wasp, which had kind of a female lead in it. And then we had to get through Captain Marvel, and Black Widow if Black Widow had been the first female-led superhero movie in the MCU, then it would have made a lot of sense happening way back then. But to give us a Black Widow movie now, after the character has already, spoilers for Endgame, died, then I just didn't see the point of it. And the backstory that they were trying to flesh out with her wasn't that interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think they tried, and maybe I don't think they succeeded 100%, but they succeeded enough for me to kind of give her a little bit of purpose and a little bit try to pull out of her just being like the sexual, violent person that she just started. She literally was just there to be sexy for the longest time.
Right.
So this kind of, at least in her end of her MCU, and definitely for other reasons, that at least she got to be a little more round of a character. She got a little bit more meat to her. But yeah, this is all right.
Definitely the best part of it is Yelena, and
Yeah, she's great.
she was the breakout character, and I'm glad that they set her up to do more.
Tomorrow, yeah. So so yeah.
But let's also talk about, since we're talking about Black Widow, let's talk about Scarlett Johansson suing Disney.
Yeah. So what's your take on that?
My take on it is that it's just these two big figureheads that I kind of like seeing go head to head. Like I'm, as much as I don't like ScarJo, she's in the right. I always
Yes.
have to side with people over corporations, and they shouldn't fuck her over for like. If it's in her contract to get paid a certain amount, then that's what they should give her. They shouldn't be trying to like lessen it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think she's she's 100%
So she,
right.
so I'm with ScarJo on it, but at the same time, I'm like, just like both of them just implode.
Yeah, I mean, like, put aside the idea that it's a bunch of rich people arguing over money.
Right.
Put that aside. If Disney is making a lot of money on a project that she worked on that she was owed money to, she definitely should be making that ridiculous amount of money as well.
Yes.
And to me, this was definitely a bad deal on Disney's part because they did the thing that they like to do is try to get away with things, and every other studio like the Warner Brothers and HBO Max, they pissed off a bunch of people when they announced, but they went behind the scenes and they made deals and they was like everybody cool,
Yeah.
and they figured it out.
Disney ain't do
Bob
that shit.
Chapek was just like nah. And then this is all Bob Chapek. I really don't like Bob Chapek. He came out and basically that statement that they released, it was just kind of like the most assholey statement to release, and just it was non-professional. It was very attacking. It was very like a personal hit piece, and I hated that. It just made me feel icky, and so it made me more on her side because she definitely deserves to get paid, and
This is, go ahead.
and I know Disney's going over the technicalities of the like the contract, but there's a spirit of the deal that you make, and the idea that there's like an honest deal that you make with people, and you just trying to get away with it on technicalities is kind of dirty.
And this is also kind of an important case because it's going to solidify how distribution works with streaming in the future.
Yep.
It's whatever the outcome of this case is really going to play a hand in that. I think Emma Stone is also looking into.
I think she backed out because I
did
think
she back
she
out?
signed up for another Cruella movie, is what I heard. So they were like, here's a bunch of money.
ScarJo has nothing else to sign up for because
No.
that character is dead. We're not getting any more Black Widow. She did not do the Black Widow voice in What If I'm
No, she
correct.
didn't. Mm-mm.
Yeah, so no, I don't think ScarJo is going to be returning.
And another thing that on ScarJo's behalf that I do see that putting it straight to streaming was kind of a bummer, because even though it did decently in the theaters, it actually did not do as bad. It was definitely dangerous because it was a female-led movie with a female director, and if this movie had not done well, this is how female-led movies with female directors don't get made, because Disney will just point at that movie and be like, look, we put it out and then nobody did. It's like, yeah, but you stuck it into streaming, so you're going to hurt it.
Especially with this movie coming on the heels of Wonder Woman 84, which was also a female-led movie with a female director that was released to streaming and was awful. Not because of the womanness of it, not because there were females involved,
No, just the sheer
but it was
badness
just
of
a
it.
bad movie. I hate that we get these diverse stories that tank, and then everyone uses that as an example of like why we can't do diverse stories.
Yeah.
Like, no, just do them better.
Yeah.
Like, we still want women-led movies. We still want women-directed movies. We just want them to also be well-directed.
I wouldn't be surprised if this deal is what pushes Chapek out of his new CEO role, because he might have just destroyed any good things that were coming to streaming. It's like we said, it's going to reshape how streaming has happened, and he might have just bit himself in the butt.
Yeah.
Just being a jerk. So I think, which would then leave Josh D'Amaro to move up to CEO, and everybody would be great. Everybody would be super happy because Josh D'Amaro's great. So yeah, I never thought I would say this, but it made me miss Bob Iger. Because at least he was a good businessman, even though I hated some of the things he did. Like, as a businessman, he was, like, good about, like, under him, the shit wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
He would have been like, Scarjo, he's a bunch of money in the background. We're all going to make money. Everybody's happy, and
It
great.
wouldn't have been
No.
a big public deal.
So, yeah. So that's that. I mean, it's still happening. We don't know where it's going, but I think it's definitely going to be a lot of ripples going to happen after this.
Reed H. Cooper says, Black Widow was a good movie overall. It wasn't what you wanted, but it was a good movie.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Okay.
I did enjoy it. So yeah, so that's it for that.
So what did you think of, since I brought it up already, what have you thought so far of Marvel's What If? Actually, there's so much Marvel Disney Plus stuff that we haven't talked about at all, like leading into What If. We haven't talked about Loki.
That's right.
Did we talk about Falcon and Winter Soldier?
We did. We had an episode. Okay. We didn't talk about Loki.
Oh yeah, I drew a popcorn bucket for that. We haven't talked about Loki. So let's talk about like Loki and What If and Marvel getting officially now the multiverse.
I like it a lot. I think Loki was my favorite of all the shows. Not to say the other shows are bad at all. I think it's just as each show went, it got better and better. And Loki definitely hit a high point that I hope they can keep doing.
Yeah.
Or at least stay there. So I thought Loki was great, and every week I wanted to see the next episode. I think Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I wanted to see the next episode, but I never felt like this need of like, I wish this was dropped all at once. But Loki, I wanted everything to be dropped at once so I could just power through the whole thing.
I'm glad that it wasn't dropped all at once, though, because Loki is such a monologue-heavy show that it would probably be a lot to binge. But week to week, it was interesting. And I do think that some of it was a little slow for me, but by the end of it, I love like the second half of it. I enjoyed more than the first half of Loki.
Mm-hmm.
I think, yeah. There was a lot that happened towards the climax. I was like, yes, this is what I want. And leading up to it, all the stuff that led up to it was important to get there. So,
and I loved I forget her name.
Sylvie.
I liked her a lot, which is like a weird thing to like throw in this other Loki character and just drop her, and you have to immediately love her. And she did a great job, and I think immediately I was on her team.
Yeah.
She was great. She was great casting, really good acting and personality on that show.
I thought it was interesting that they made her kind of a combination of Loki and Enchantress from the comics. Like she's not quite in the context of the show, she is a variant Loki, but in developing the character, they borrowed some things from this other character to bring in to kind of flesh her out more, which I thought was probably a good idea, so that she could still feel like her own character as well.
Yeah, but with some things that are already pre-programmed.
Yeah.
One of the things I normally hate on TV shows and movies is when they like push a love story, like some like thing, and I'm usually like, why they don't need it. But for this one, I absolutely loved that they were like kind of in love with each other, because it makes sense that Loki would love Loki, and I was like, it's perfect.
He's arrogant enough that it is perfect.
Like I would have been mad if they hadn't, because it made sense that Loki would just be in love with Loki, and I thought that was great, and I'm sure they did on purpose.
I know we said we aren't going to spoil things, so I really don't want to spoil the last episode of Loki. But you just what?
I just spoiled something if you haven't seen it.
Oh no, but that's kind of like, I don't think it's not
a big plot point.
As big of a plot point. But the final episode of Loki was my favorite because of the character that shows up there and what it means for the remainder of this phase of the MCU, because it's going to be a big deal. I feel like even if you haven't seen the show, everyone knows about who shows up in the last episode by now, right?
If you didn't watch it didn't watch it by now, you really didn't care that much, right?
Because Jonathan Majors is in it, and he's amazing in that last episode. That last episode really made it for me. It's got a whole like Wizard of Oz behind the curtain vibe to it, and I cannot wait to see like what Jonathan Majors does with this character Kang the Conqueror. That's going to be, he's already announced to be a part of the next Ant-Man movie, but I feel like he's going to play a bigger part in all of the next phase of the MCU. There's so much they could do with that character.
Rich Cooper says actually Sylvie exists in the comics. And then he said no will, but I don't know the context of that. She was just who she was in the comics. Yeah, I don't know about Sylvie in the comics.
She's Enchantress, I believe, which is what I was saying. I could be wrong. Let us know.
But either way, we loved her. And then What If has been also great.
What If has been great. It's been a mixed bag of greatness. Like, every episode is really interesting and cool, but there are some episodes I love a lot more than others. But the animation style is
great.
Beautiful. I wish that the mouths could be more dynamic, but otherwise, all of the animation is really great to watch.
And there's a lot of really snappy pacing to it, because they're fitting sometimes full versions of a movie into that 20-minute or whatever 30-minute slot. So that thing moves very quick, and I'm really enjoying those.
Reed H. Cooper says she's not Enchantress, so I guess Sylvie is another
Educate
character.
us in the Discord.
Let us know who she is.
In the Discord, Reed.
This is why we have chat, to let us know when
because even though we have a show, we don't always know things. I know very little, actually. I know a lot about this section of things, and then there's all this other stuff that I don't know about.
Yeah, that first episode of What If, I think, was a good introduction to what they're trying to do, but it kind of was like, I don't want to see the exact same movie rehashed just with another character in the lead.
Yeah.
So I that was probably the lowest episode for me, even though it was still interesting and entertaining. But the other episodes where they actually take the characters and give them entirely new things to do, that second episode with T'Challa as Star-Lord was amazing. And not just because of him, because I obviously love seeing T'Challa back and love hearing Chadwick Boseman's voice. That was all great. But then what they were doing with all of the side characters in the episode too, like the things between Nebula and Thanos and how they had a good relationship. And
that was great.
Yeah, it was just like, that's what I want from a show that's going to explore the multiverse. I want, like, give me these things that are kind of recognizable, but then just, like, shake them up and give them all new things to do.
And I love that Thanos hadn't given up the idea on eradicating half the universe. He was still on that. But it's like, it's still a good idea, he thought. Even though he didn't do it. That was great. He was amazing. Yeah, and so far I've enjoyed every episode. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that first episode was a little slow, which I think that's why it was set up in the first episode.
It's a good introduction.
But I've been enjoying it a lot, and I'm kind of been looking forward. And it's nice to, like, go into something and not know what's happened.
Yeah,
like, have no idea, even though it's like a familiar thing, but literally have no. Even there's not even like a thing where, like, oh, we saw this movie, so we think this is gonna happen in this 2 movies. There's nothing. It's all completely blank from the beginning, and then you're just completely surprised the entire time.
Yeah, like, you know the characters, but then you don't. Anything could happen. Anything could go any which way. Any character can come out of a doorway and be like, oh, it's cool to see them in this situation. You know, it's very different. And I think that it's going to them setting up that they can do stories like this in What If is going to have big ramifications for what they can do with the multiverse and the rest of the MCU.
Yeah, and it's cool because I didn't think that this series was going to connect at all to the MCU. I thought it was just going to be like, oh, it's its own series because it'll be interesting to see these stories.
No, I think it's going to connect.
But yeah, it's going to definitely connect
it's
to
in continuity.
And maybe potentially some of the characters that get introduced here could end up in the MCU.
I hope so. I think it'd be interesting.
Like, I feel like Captain Carter might end up showing up in the MCU.
You think so?
I think so. I think she's one of the characters that might end up in the MCU.
What do you think about, like, I've seen speculation online that the next villain in the villain in the next Doctor Strange movie might be the Dark Doctor Strange.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That would be cool.
That would be cool. Yeah.
We'll see. Yeah, but yeah, the next few movies. I mean, we got Shang-Chi coming out, and then Eternals, and then after that, the next few movies actually deal directly with the multiverse. Like, we know the next Doctor Strange movie is all about the multiverse, and then we got that Spider-Man trailer drop.
Ooh, yeah.
That Alfred Molina as Doc Ock is just he's so perfect in that role, and I'm so happy that we officially have
Yeah.
seen him in the next, Spider-Man movie.
It's like
He's
J.K.
officially
Simmons. He
coming
was
back.
already good casting to begin with,
Right.
and it's great that he can come back and do it again.
So I'm excited to see how like the multiverse is explored through this next series of movies.
And do you think that's full confirmation that we're getting that Willem Dafoe's coming back from the trailer, or do you think that's just
It seems like that trailer was trying to set up the Sinister 6 because we do get a Goblin
a little
bomb.
thing? Yeah.
So I feel like in some capacity, all of those Sinister Six characters are going to be involved.
Because Alfred Molina and Willem Dafoe were great.
Yeah.
And I to see them recast. I mean, they've been doing recasting for the remakes and stuff.
And
well,
but those are just characters in that, universe, in that continuity. They can still be a recasting of new ones
they could
as
still
well.
make new versions of them.
But I think it's brilliant to actually bring in, now that Disney has all this property, it's brilliant to actually just connect what's already there and what has already existed that people already like. Why not?
And they set up what DC couldn't do, because I think DC wanted to try things like
Always.
we can do whatever we want, but they didn't set up. But literally, Marvel just set up as like, we can do whatever the fuck we want,
Right?
And it's not gonna matter. You can't complain because the multiverse exists, and we can do anything we want. And now, there's no reason for us to complain about it because the multiverse exists, and they can just use that as an excuse to give us weird shit and fun things to do. And they're not beholden to a certain thing because it's all flexible.
There was, speaking of DC and the multiverse, because this one actor is in both universes, both cinematic universes. Michael Keaton was quoted as saying something, I forget the actual quote, but he was something along the lines of like, I don't get this multiverse thing. I don't understand it.
Yes.
But they keep asking me to do it, so I'm going to do it. And I just think that's so hilarious. But yeah, he's in both now because he's coming back as Batman
yeah.
as Bruce Wayne, and also as Vulture in the MCU. So, and then there's the rumor. I don't think anything's been solidly set, but the rumor of them integrating Tom Hardy's Venom into the MCU as part of all of this too, because they can.
They can, and they could. That gives them a way for them to take him out if it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
They can just be like boop out and continue on your own because But yeah, I'm excited.
It's all interesting.
It's all interesting. Let's wrap up the
superhero stuff,
the Marvel stuff,
the Marvel stuff
with Shang-Chi.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, so we're not gonna just literally no spoilers.
I'm going to see it tomorrow.
I saw it. Great movie. Everybody should go see it. One cool thing is that there was like this whole thing. How's the movie gonna do? It broke Labor Day records. It broke Labor Day records non-pandemic time.
Yeah.
So this movie has outdone. It's done great. I think it's only come second to Black Widow. Black Widow actually did better than Shang-Chi in the movie theaters, which is cool.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that cool?
Well, cool that people like that even
That
though
people are going to the
theater. And even though it got put into streaming, it still did decently. People wanted to go to the theater.
Yeah.
But yeah, it did better money wise technically Shang-Chi because they had the 4-day weekend, so it made more money. But on the 3-day weekend thing, but still it did real good.
Yeah.
So Shang-Chi is gonna be. I think I'm glad because I was really worried that people weren't gonna go see it because pandemic stuff, and then they were not gonna put effort into POC characters.
Yeah. Right.
But they made a great movie with a great character, and it's cool.
I'm excited about it. I've been looking forward to it. I was looking forward to Shang-Chi more than Black Widow by far. So, yeah.
I have one thing to say about it, and I don't think it's a spoiler. No, it's not a spoiler. One thing that I absolutely love, this happened in Black Panther too, that I think as people of color, I think we struggle all the time in just society in general with having to prove ourselves. And I love that these two characters are big representation characters in the MCU have, I think, purposely made not to be those characters. Somebody who has to prove themselves to the world. Like T'Challa was already Black Panther. It's not like, oh, he has to learn. No, he was already Black Panther. And Shang-Chi is already, even though like there's development stuff that happens with him, he's already a good guy. He's already like great. I don't know, it's hard to describe it without saying that, but he's just already great. And I love that I walked in. It's like, yeah, you know this guy's great, and he's a good guy, and he's skilled, and he's amazing right off the bat. And so I love that.
I think this is going to be one that we revisit more in depth because obviously after I see it, we're going
to talk about it.
We're going to be able to talk about it.
So go see it.
Go see it, and we will come back with a full Shang-Chi episode full of spoilers.
Oh, Kevin says Eternals trailer while we're on Marvel. That's right, Eternals. I know little to nothing. No, I actually know nothing about the Eternals. So I'm super curious. I'm excited to see it.
I don't know much about the Eternals either, although I've been reading more, and Dave actually... it was funny, the most recent trailer that they released, the thumbnail of it on YouTube had an image of a particular character, and Dave was like, hey, that's this character. And I was like, I don't know who that is. But he was very surprised to see... them using like the new, not new gods. Dave, what are those characters? The Celestials.
Celestials.
Dave was very surprised to see that they were actually using the Celestials in this movie. So that was exciting to know that those characters are actually being used. But I don't personally. We might need Dave to come on when we do an Eternals episode.
Yeah, explain everything.
Because I personally don't know much about them either.
Oh, okay. They created the Eternals. The Celestials did, so they're going to have to be somewhat in the movie.
Yeah.
It looks good. I love the cast.
Yes, love the cast. Love the director. I've spent some time this year checking out more of Chloe Zhao's movies, and she has a very interesting... it's going to be an interesting mashup because her movies feel very introverted and thoughtful, which is not exactly what we expect from big action summer blockbuster movies like MCU movies. So I think that it's going to be very different for a Marvel movie, and I'm looking forward to that. Like, I like that Marvel, even with the Disney Plus stuff, I like that Marvel they've, as a brand, the MCU has solidified what it is, and now it can kind of start to do different things.
Yeah.
And I feel like, with them doing Doctor Strange as a horror movie, Eternals might be more like a quiet, thoughtful movie with some action still. But I like that Marvel is branching out to do different things.
Yeah, and like I think I've said this before, like they've developed this little machine that's super collaborative. So it allows people like her to direct a movie with characters she can spend all the time. And then Marvel's like, don't worry about the action. Don't worry about the big things because we have people that can help you with that. Stunt people come in and they work with the stunt team to develop things. There's a previous people that work on all that stuff. So like it really kind of frees those. It allows them to get directors who may not be superhero types or action-y type characters, but no characters and no story,
right? And
plop them in there and then help them with the things that maybe they're not normally suited for, and that gives them such flexibility and it lets them do really cool stuff, which is kind of why I'm excited about this movie, because I think we are going to see something different.
I think I'm thinking the same thing, but from the opposite side, where I'm like, Marvel has this formula, but then they can find this person who's really good at story and come in and help them with that.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
So it's like the same thing, but we're looking at it from two different angles.
But it's definitely somebody going, oh, look, all these good people can do different things, like shove them together and let them, instead of giving.
It becomes a collaborative effort.
It's like giving Zack Snyder full control of something.
Right.
Which I like Zack Snyder, but maybe he shouldn't have full control of everything, because I think he would have made better movies had he had more support instead of just being the guy in charge and then being told what to do by the studio.
Yeah.
So I think if they had developed this collaborative world, I think they could have done something really great. Because he's got great ideas. He's a very visual guy. He could have made some cool stuff if he had had help.
Yeah. Well, I mean, since we're talking about superheroes, but moving over into Zack Snyderverse, let's talk about this new Suicide Squad movie.
Oh, it was so good.
It was really good.
Did you watch it at theater or at home?
No, I watched it at home.
I watched it at home too, but I was great. I loved it.
Yeah, I feel like, seeing it in the theater might have been fun, but it didn't. Watching it at home didn't take anything away from it.
No, not at all. Because the movie was so strong.
And that's what happens when you get a director who has a style that trumps what the producers want.
Yeah.
Or what the producers are trying to do. Because James Gunn is very definitely, you know what you're getting from a James Gunn movie. Like, he's an auteur, as weird as that is to say, because he's so into this big action stuff. You don't really think of action directors being auteurs, but he really is. Like, he has a distinct style that comes through in his movies.
Yeah, it was great. I didn't realize how much I was going to love how bloody and gross it is. It was the most, I was so amused with all the bloodiness because it was so ridiculous and fun.
It's stylized.
Yeah, and it was, I laughed so much, particularly at just people being ripped apart, exploding. I was like at this point, I'm like, I don't know if my nephew has seen it, my 10-year-old nephew, but like, I'd be fine with him seeing it because it's so ridiculous and stupid that like, I'd be like, yeah, it's great. I need to see it again.
I loved Starro. Not a spoiler because Starro's in the trailer.
Yeah.
But yeah, Starro, being able to see like this big kaiju character.
That's kind of cute.
There's some characters in comics that you don't think will actually work in live action.
Yep.
But this worked. And I think that that's part of like the finesse of James Gunn's work is that he takes characters that you wouldn't normally go to from the comics and grab them, like the loser characters or the obscure characters. That's what he loves to do, is take those characters, actually flesh them out and make them relatable and lovable. And yeah, even the villains like Starro, he's like, Starro went through some shit and now he's getting his revenge. It's like, okay, yeah, this all makes sense. I love it. And it's just well put together and well entertaining.
And then Reach Cooper said, "Are we going to do an episode?" I think we might.
Yeah,
might
we
end up doing
can.
an episode, but
I'm up for that.
episode. He says, "Has any other movie done what Suicide did with its cast?" I can't think off the top of my head.
Meaning what?
I think having such a large cast and then figuring out how to hone in on the like a certain cast, certain part of the cast, because there was a bunch of superheroes and a bunch of or villains or whatever, and then and really like not giving you the trailers didn't give us exactly who was going to be like a main character,
Right.
and so it was nice going in there not knowing who was going to be the most important characters.
That's kind of the whole point of Suicide Squad, and that's one of the reasons why the first Suicide Squad movie failed, because it didn't live up to what the Suicide Squad actually is. It's literally in the title. Like, not everyone's going to make this, going to survive this movie. In the first Suicide Squad, I think we only got a couple of characters that actually died by the end of the movie. It was most of them stayed alive. So it was very fulfilling to watch so many characters die in this movie. Like, that's what the team is. That's what they are hired for.
If you haven't seen it, definitely watch it, because we're going to do a whole episode and we want to talk freely about all this that happened in this movie, because there's a lot of spoiler territory in this movie that we could tell you, and it wouldn't be that big of a deal, but it would be more fun for you to see it happen.
Yeah.
Like
because you don't expect it when it's happening. Like, yeah, you don't expect it to happen when it happens.
And again, Margot Robbie. I think this is my favorite time that she's been Harley.
Really? More than Birds of Prey?
I think so. I
loved
like
her
Birds
in
of Prey a lot, but I liked her in this. And I liked that they brought in, I don't know if this is whose idea, but it's probably James Gunn. There was one thing specific that I loved about her, is that in Birds of Prey, we got a lot of like, you see how she lives in her head, like there's those weird like fantasy scenes and stuff, and that got brought into this movie as well. Like,
yeah, that's just part of her character.
Now, where like she lives in this fantasy world, and I was like, I love that he didn't undo her.
Yeah.
He took what they built in her and just plopped it under and expanded on her.
The scene where she's shooting up everybody and there are just flowers
everywhere.
And it's beautiful. I mean, it's beautifully done, and it makes perfect sense with that character.
Yeah.
You don't use logic with it. It's just it is what it is. There's another moment with Harley that I really liked where I'm just gonna speak generally so I don't spoil it. She's being wooed by a guy, and I'm like, the whole time this scene is happening, I'm like, Harley just went through some shit with Joker. She just got emancipated in Birds of Prey. Please don't make her another appendage to another guy. And as soon as I thought that Harley did what needed to be done, it was like perfect. That was perfect. Yeah, that was also great. And then I would be amiss to not mention John Cena in his underwear. I'm not going to not bring that up. But he's being spun off into his own show.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Like a TV show?
For HBO Max.
Oh, well, that's
like
good.
It's already been announced, and maybe they've already filmed it. I don't know if they filmed it while they were filming this movie or what the deals are, but it's like coming soon. It's not that far away.
He was great.
Yeah.
I loved him.
So yeah.
Also, if you guys haven't watched it or are gonna watch it again, you guys can find our friend Justin from Solon's Legacy in the movie. He's like one of the goons. Particularly, you can see him in the fight where it's all the flowers with Harley and stuff. You see him there in a couple of shots. And also, Kenny made a good point. He says also someone from That's not it. That was the other thing I just said. Even Starro, a giant star with one line of dialogue, had more development and characterization than most main characters in the first movie.
It's true.
Yep.
It's actually true.
Star wasn't just a big monster. It had a character to it.
Yeah.
And you understood a little bit about him. You didn't get a lot of depth to him, but it was enough for you to understand what was going on with him.
That first movie was awful with building... Because that first movie was put together with characters that should have been interesting, but they just weren't. Like, even Harley wasn't that interesting in that movie. That first was... Dave and I have been rewatching a lot of superhero movies. We watched Suicide Squad. We rewatched Spider-Man 2 after that trailer dropped. And it's just like, some movies hold up. Like, Spider-Man 2 is still amazing. And that Suicide Squad movie is just
Which is unfortunate to do because they had some good characters in them. Like, I still really like Captain Boomerang, like, a lot.
Yeah.
And he got to shine a little bit, because obviously they knew he was great.
Yeah.
But, like, it just...
And they brought him back for this one.
And so, like, I wish they would have gotten more. He had so much to do, and
Yeah.
He kind of got wasted. Yeah. All right. Is that it for superheroes?
No, that's not it.
Oh, no.
What do you think about the screening reactions for the Batman?
Man, I'm excited. so a few lucky people were able to see screening. I think it was like an industry thing. Got to see, and even though there was embargoes and the whole thing, people still snuck out things.
Of course.
And so people are got great stuff. Got great first reactions from it. It apparently seems to be like very horror-like movie.
Yeah, I've heard it's like a horror thing. From what I was reading, I suspect it's going to have like a feel of like Seven. That has like a kind of a thriller, mystery, noir vibe to it.
And particularly because apparently it looks like the Riddler is like real bad. Like you see in the trailer, you see the guy wrapped up, and so it's kind of like very like bloody or very violent kind of like Riddler. Yeah, it's not Jim Carrey Riddler. It's definitely like
it's Paul Dano Riddler.
Yes, and
Riddler.
apparently he's amazing in it too.
Yeah,
which is I'm looking forward to seeing. But yeah, I like it. I'm happy.
I heard, and I need to fact check this when the movie comes out for myself. I heard someone say that this Catwoman is their favorite Catwoman.
I heard none of that, but that she was great.
Yeah. I mean, I love Zoe Kravitz. Y'all know how I feel about Catwoman. And I love that we're getting a black Catwoman. Give me Eartha Kitt vibe all day. So, yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, that doesn't come out till next year, right?
No.
So,
I mean, yes.
Yes. I was like, what? So yeah, we have to wait a whole lot for that. That's one of the things I mean, and pandemic made that even worse. That we're having to wait 2 years for movies that we talk about them.
Yeah.
And,
that's true.
So we'll look out for that. I'm excited for that.
I think that might be it for superhero talk. Unless there's anything else y'all want to mention in the chat that we missed.
No. Let's turn let's make a left turn on here.
Okay.
Let's talk about White Lotus.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen White Lotus?
Have you guys watched White Lotus?
On HBO Max? Because Jesus Christ, if you have not seen it, watch it.
First of all...
Not just Jesus, all of you should watch it.
Not just Jesus. First of all, HBO Max is still so strong. It's my favorite streaming service. I would love if HBO is watching. I would love to get paid to promote
We
your
will
your
talk.
service.
Yeah.
But even without getting paid, I must say, like, all of my favorite stuff is just popping up on
We
HBO
could totally
Max.
do a show that's like this week on HBO Max.
We could.
Should we just start doing that and then hope that we get sponsored?
Sponsor us. Someone get in touch with HBO. We want to be sponsored because we love your work. White Lotus was... I did not know what to expect going in. I
Yeah.
just knew that everyone was talking about it and everyone was saying how good it was. And it had a couple of people in the cast that I actually like Jennifer Coolidge. Oh my God.
She's so good.
I did not know what to expect. And so I turned it on and was like, first episode, hooked.
But then you watch the first episode and you're like, I still don't know what to expect.
Don't know what's happening, but the seeds that they put in that first episode, hooked. Second episode, holy fuck.
And it's weird because it's hard to even define what kind of show it is because it sort of it doesn't really define itself as a like type of show. Like if you were to tell me explain White Lotus to me, I'd be like, I would rather you just watch it. So I wouldn't even tell. Oh, it's a drama, it's a comedy, it's a this, a thriller, nothing. It's almost got its own little tiny genre, and
Yeah.
it wasn't even on my radar at all until I was at the workshop and I mentioned, oh, I'm going to Hawaii. And someone's like, oh my God, you should watch White Lotus. Just because I was going to Hawaii. So they said, you should watch it. I was like, okay. So when I came back from Hawaii, I was like, let's watch White Lotus. And I was hooked.
I think what hooked me in the first episode, again, not trying to spoil it for anyone, but there's a situation, because the first episode follows, mostly, because it introduces all the characters, but it mostly follows this manager of the resort and a new hire that he's hired, and it's her first day. And the things that she goes through, being someone who's from Hawaii, not just a tourist, the things that she goes through and his reactions to them are kind of what hooked me for the show. And because
Yes.
it kind of like sets up what the entire show is about, which is, should I spoil what the reading that I got from the show, what I think this show is about?
Yeah, sure.
It's about white privilege.
Yeah.
And it really sets up like how these elite rich white people deal with things, and then how people who don't have that privilege also have to deal with things, even if they are white, but mostly like other people of color, indigenous people to Hawaii, or black women, or like there's so much going on. And even like a person of color who may be closer to that privilege than not, and how she deals with things. So it has all of these complexities, and I think that it goes through all of them very well.
And also, it does a really good job at showing how humans are definitely over a spectrum of, like, it's not black and white, we're all
Right.
gray.
Yes.
So we have good things about us, bad things about us, and across the board, we all, we're more complicated than just being the good guy or the bad guy.
Yeah.
And I think it does a good job, there's all kinds of characters that are like, their moralities kind of shift back, and across the board, all characters.
There are definitely characters that, like, one episode you feel sympathetic for, and the next character you're like, what the fuck?
Are you an
Like,
asshole?
get out of here.
I mean, there's one character that's an asshole the entire time, but like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a great show. Like, if you have not seen the show, please watch the show. They announced it got renewed for a second season.
Oh, good.
So, and I don't know what that's gonna be like.
I assume it's going to be, like, the hotel being managed by...
A whole new set of people, and
Yeah, a whole new set of tourists coming in. I think that's what's great about a show like this, is that this could be a long-running show that just has, like...
it's like American
really
Horror
great-
Story, where it's just,
Yeah.
I mean, you don't recast the same people, but it's just different stories around the same theme. Because it is a hotel, and there's all these people who are hotels, so it'd be really weird to just bring all the same people who happen to go on vacation at the same time.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't work, but it's great. Fun fact. Oh, I already told you this fact. If you watch the show, the wedding that I was at happened in where the first scene happens. Like, there's a part where people arrive to the place. They get off a boat or something.
And they get greeted by
yeah. That's
people
why
who work there.
it happened. That's where the wedding that I was at. It was weird to see that. It's not that fun, but it was just interesting. But White Lotus, great show. I'm so glad that somebody mentioned to me, because I think I would have written it off.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have watched it if somebody hadn't told me.
It just came up in the chat again that Michael K. Williams is on my phone, so I'm going to show him. That's Michael K. Williams as Omar from The Wire.
I was just like, I want to see it. And I could have just looked up at the screen.
Well, you can. I mean, it's right here.
I know. I just realized that now.
What sucks about my phone case though? I mean, it doesn't actually suck. I love this phone case, but my phone case is biodegradable. It's supposed to last like 2 years, but because I got it in the middle of a pandemic and was constantly like wiping everything down with.
You wiped stuff out.
It's starting to degrade earlier, but so it's kind of hard to see the image just because of that. But yeah, biodegradable phone cases are awesome.
Can they see the image?
Yes, it is on my website, and I actually did tweet it earlier as well.
Cool. All right, what do you want to hit next?
What is next? What is a good follow-up? You've got Ted Lasso season 2 in here. Did you watch that yet?
Yeah, I've been watching. It's still going on.
I haven't started season 2, so I have nothing.
Yeah, I didn't want to
two.
I didn't want to spoil anything, but this season's also real good. And it's dealing with a bunch of other stuff. There's a therapist who comes in.
Yeah.
So they start dealing with like mental health and stuff like that, which cool. It was really, really cool to see. So if you haven't seen Ted Lasso at all, watch season 1 and then
season 1 was great.
Immediately got on season 2 because season 2 it did a really good job of like, hey, this is the stories we're telling and we're talking about the same people, but now we're gonna give you different things about them and start exploring different areas of them, which has been really great. And I think the theme of mental health is throughout the whole episode, which is really good.
That's great to hear. I'm glad that they kept up the what the first season was doing.
Yeah.
In positive ways.
Yeah. So I don't want to say too much about it because one, the season's not done and Will hasn't seen it. But watch it.
Yeah, I'm sure after we've both finished the second season, we'll do an episode on it. What about getting back into movies? There was news that this. I don't even know if I should bring this up because I don't know anything about it. I just put it there. They announced a new Snow White movie with this new actress.
Oh, the girl from West Side Story.
Oh, is that who it is?
Yeah.
Which hasn't come out yet, so I still haven't seen it. I don't really know her work. I don't know what else she's done.
She's like new.
But yeah, she looks like she could be fitting for the part.
Yeah. And people are freaking out because she's like half Latina. And so they're like, oh my God.
There are definitely white Latinas. So,
yeah.
I mean, it's
just
fine.
Not looking hard enough. Or they're sneaking past you and you're like, you don't even realize they're... I have cousins, literally, you walk in and you're like, oh, they're Mexican.
I think what's going to make or break a Snow White movie for me, honestly, is the Evil Queen.
Yeah.
Who is cast in that role?
Because really, Snow White's really boring.
She is.
Snow White's just a young girl.
There's
nothing really terribly interesting about her as a character because even though she's the main character, she's not the standout character in the story.
She's also not the character that's pushing forward the action.
No.
She just kind of is.
Yeah.
Everything that happens is because of the queen or the dwarves or the prince. She's the binding that that puts everything together. Yeah. So she has to be interesting enough for that, but she's definitely not. I mean, she could be, but just generally hasn't been. So, in similar news, there's this new version of Cinderella that is streaming that I feel like the biggest takeaway for it. I haven't seen it, but it's been getting awful reviews, and I feel like the biggest takeaway for it, like the best part of it, is that Billy Porter is the fairy godmother. Mm-hmm. I feel like maybe I might watch it just to see that, but it doesn't seem like this movie is great.
Maybe it's the reason why I went straight to Amazon Prime. I mean, Amazon Prime has had some good things.
Yeah,
but like that just didn't seem good. I haven't seen it either, so I don't know.
That was way at the bottom of our list.
Phil Bruce said she's asleep for most of it. It's true. Snow White's asleep for a chunk of the movie.
She is. I mean, she sleeps a little less than Sleeping Beauty. Sleeping Beauty sleeps more, but Snow White still sleeps. What was it about those classic princesses where it's just like they didn't want to develop women characters, so let's just have these the Brothers Grimm. But speaking of like fairy tale fantasy stuff, what did you think of Green Knight?
I did not see Green Knight.
Oh, that's right. You haven't seen it.
Did not.
I've seen it. The rest of Perception Studio has seen it.
Yeah, everybody went as a group, and then I couldn't, and so they all started with that. But then Danny didn't seem to like it, so I was like, okay, now I'm in a hurry to see it because I really wanted to see it.
I can understand Danny's. I had a conversation with Danny about it after we both saw it, and I can totally understand his feelings on it.
I do have preface. Is that the right word? Danny has very strong opinions about things. When he feels something, he like feels it strong.
And Danny is also strong into lore of that time.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, he knows. Yeah, he knows it well.
Arthurian lore and all of that kind of thing. So, from what I understand, Green Knight as a movie takes a big departure from the actual Green Knight story. Like all the elements are there, but they're presented differently. So I can understand someone who's like really into Arthurian legend not being into this version of it because it changes so much. For me, I found it simultaneously interesting and confusing. After researching more after the movie, I was like, the changes that they made for this movie didn't need to be made. Like if they had kept to that Arthurian legend, it would have made more sense. But I found myself being so enthralled by the visuals of it, the atmosphere of it, the style of it, like the mood of it, all 100. Like I love all of that stuff. Story-wise, it just was like, that could have been tied up a little bit more, a little better. But overall, like I think it's still in my top 5 movies of the year. I mean, that's not saying much in the middle of a pandemic, but I still really enjoyed it. And I think that if you're going to see it, it would be worth seeing on a big screen just because of the visual atmosphere of it, which I think was phenomenal. Acting was great. There were lots of characters that I really loved in it. Special effects looked really cool.
Yeah, I heard it visually was really
cool. For the most part, yeah. And I kind of feel similarly, because you guys know what my most anticipated movie of the year was. It's out now. I went to see it opening night in the theater, Candyman. And you guys know how like excited I was and have been about this movie. And I have to admit, it didn't meet my expectations.
Oh no, you were so excited.
So this is another one that I feel like if you're going to see it, the visual atmosphere of it is worth seeing in the theater. Like it still is really cool, has really great ideas. My problem with Candyman was that it had so many great themes and ideas that were introduced but didn't get follow through execution. So I didn't really like. My fault with Candyman was the execution more than anything else. 3 stars. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, so it's not an awful movie. But I just think that there were some things that could have been tied up and displayed or told to the audience a little better. I do think that Candyman. There are some things in Candyman that I will never forget. Like there are some iconic moments in this new Candyman movie that were just like jaw-dropping. So it wasn't that I hated it, but I think that it sets up this idea of Candyman in a great way, and I'm interested to see what they do moving forward with it. Also, the director Nia DaCosta, I still feel like. Because I was raving about her before this movie. And I feel like a lot of the problems that I had with Candyman may have come from so many different voices being, because it's like 3 people writing it, 2 of which are the producers and 1 of which is the director. And I feel I feel like Nia DaCosta's work as a director still kind of comes through. Like the whole style of it is still amazing, and I'm still interested to see what she does next because she's doing Marvels for the MCU with Captain Marvel and Monica Rambeau and Miss Marvel. So I'm still really excited about her as a director. I need to say that even though Candyman wasn't my absolute favorite like I was expecting it to be. I'm still really excited about her.
It has 7 credited producers, which sounds like a problem.
Right. There's a lot. And I feel like...
And 3 writers.
There's so many good things about this Candyman that the things that make it kind of fall apart could have easily been avoided, but I feel like there was some sort of the way watching the movie. I was getting the impression that there was some sort of mandate, like we have to fulfill this kind of thing, and I'm wondering if the editing was a lot better, if the movie would have been better itself. Like I feel like there's another version of this movie that wasn't what we saw in the theater, that is a better version. Because everything that's in it is great.
Yeah.
It's just the way that it's all tied together isn't great. That's the best way to say it. It's got a lot of great themes and ideas, but the way that they're put together needed more finessing. That's how I feel about Candyman. We're going to have, Art's going to see Candyman, and we are definitely going to have a more in-depth conversation about that one, because I need to be specific about some things.
Okay. Sounds good. Kenny says, does he jump out of a window at any point? Yeah, does he get sucked out of a window? In a cool way?
No.
No.
There are some really cool things done in this movie with mirrors and windows that are very interesting, but not that specifically. But it is if you do watch the new Candyman, definitely see the old Candyman. Watch it again, because they tie together very specifically. Like I don't know how obsessed with the original Candyman y'all are, but for me, I know specifically that the original Candyman opens with this bird's eye view of the city, and it's just like flying slowly over all of these buildings. And it's interesting that this new Candyman opens, its opening credit sequence is another view of like all these skyscrapers, but from below. It's like the mirror image, which is kind of brilliant to think of doing a mirror image in a movie that deals with these mirror images. As far as Candyman goes, like, so there's some really brilliant stuff being done here, and I feel like it just needed to be put together a little better.
Reed Cooper says, my mom chose to interrupt me. Can you repeat everything? Okay. So Candyman. No, we're not going to do
Rewind.
You know what I just realized? I also forgot to do today?
What?
We're not streaming to volume. I forgot to stream to volume.
Oh, poor volume.
Volume has no idea this is happening.
Are we on Facebook?
No, not even on Facebook.
So we're only on YouTube. YouTube exclusive, Return of Cinephilia. Yeah, what else is... You know what?
No.
You know what was a really good movie? Now that I'm talking about like my most anticipated movie that didn't quite pan out. You know what movie I did not expect to be as good as it was, that ended up being amazing?
Yeah.
Pig.
I thought you were going to say that. Pig
with Nicolas Cage. If you have not seen this movie, find a way to see this movie.
I have not seen it.
It is so good. And it deals with a lot of things that we have been talking about more recently on the show, as far as like... Well, let me ask you this: because we watched the trailer, what did you expect from that trailer?
I was expecting something kind of ridiculously dramatic, sort of kind of like the Color of what's that movie called? The other Nicolas Cage movie where he's like in a
Color Out of Space.
Where like it was real weird,
yeah,
but it was great because he was great in it.
Right.
That's what I was expecting. Something where it's like it's not. It was gonna be unintentionally funny at points because it's Nicolas Cage, but like. Something kooky and weird.
I was thinking along the lines of that, just going by the trailer, along the lines of that, and also like Nicolas Cage's version of John Wick, where he's
or Taken,
where he's like just beating up people and trying to get his pig back. Not it. That's not what this movie is at all. It's a totally serious movie, and it's Nick Cage probably. I read this before I saw the movie, and I was like, no way. And then I watched the movie, and I was like, okay, this is true. This is probably the best performance Nick Cage has ever given. Like, I'm not...
Yeah.
Like, not an over-the-top performance, not like what you expect from Nick Cage. He's fucking grounded, and he's giving you, like, real moments, and it's just like, what? What is this? It's amazing. I couldn't believe it. And Nick Cage has always been a great actor. It's not that I didn't think he could do it, because I've seen him do like great acting. Even the over the top stuff is great, but I've seen him do great dramatic acting before. Like, that's not new, but he tapped into something with this movie, and it's just like all the stuff that we were laughing at in the trailer, like,
Yeah.
where's my pig? When you're watching the movie, it's just like, yeah, where's his fucking pig? Give him his pig back.
All right.
It's good. I mean, it's good.
I think it's currently streaming for rent. If you haven't seen it, so like, you think it would be worth paying for a rental for this?
Yes, I do.
I think I saw it on Apple TV, so it's probably.
Phil Brew is asking if it's better than Gone in 60 Seconds. Yes, it is. Although I do like that movie too.
Yes, I think
Better than Face Off.
you can currently rent it. It says Amazon Video, so I'm guessing that's also Amazon Video where you can rent. Yeah, I was actually gonna try to rent it, and it was on Amber's and me and Amber's, I don't know, list of things too. I should probably write down this list because it's mostly just in my head of things we should be watching, so I'm gonna write it down. But I'm gonna watch it.
I'm assuming Amber will probably cry watching this movie, and you may, knowing you as well. It's good. It's a good movie.
All right.
But what I was saying, I didn't even finish my thought because my thoughts are all over the place. You know how lately we've been talking about, like, lately before the hiatus, we were doing a lot of talks on the show about, like, presenting men in a way that's a lot less toxic. Mm-hmm. This pig goes into that a lot, and it's great. It's really, yeah, it's really good. Would make a good double feature with Ratatouille.
Okay. I don't know what that means.
You will once you see it. By the way, if you have not recognized the popcorn bucket for this episode, it is Nick Cage and Pig. That's how he looks through the entire movie. Just all beat up and bloody. And it's amazing.
We're powering through this list. I'm liking this.
We are.
Let's hit a couple quickies. Disney revealed their Splash artwork for their redesign of the Splash Mountain. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the Splash Mountain ride at the theme park.
The theme parks, yeah.
Used to be themed for Song of the South, and they rightly decided finally that we can give this ride a better.
Maybe that wasn't a good idea to
theme.
begin with, since you were gonna keep the movie hidden. And...
Right. People don't even know what Song of the South is, but they're singing along with this ride. So that ride is being rethemed to The Princess and the Frog with a brand new story.
That's the image.
I love Tiana in this outfit. I'm gonna be honest. I love that she's not just in a princess gown. That little outfit is cute.
Also, I'm really, really excited at this moment that none of those tabs that I'm currently showing you were embarrassing. I should probably check before I put them up on screen. But here we are.
So I assume that one of those tabs was not OnlyFans because they were about to go under and you deleted your account.
Yeah, I was like, but then they just took it back, and I have to go subscribe to everything. And it's gonna be a long process because I subscribe to a lot of things.
OnlyFans went under just as I was about to start mine.
But yeah, so apparently this is taking place like after the movie. It's like the sequel to the movie in a ride, I guess. I'm excited. I think this will be pretty. I think that ride definitely needs, not only because of the theme, but also just it's been there forever, and I think it hasn't gotten any attention. Because some of the rides will get little updates and things like that. This has had minimal attention. So having something brand new in there, and they already have a riverboat in there, which is gonna be great. And so I think,
yeah, it's fitting. Like whoever first had the idea to retheme it to Princess and the Princess and the Frog, it's a brilliant idea because it fits. It's already right there in the New Orleans area where the character meets and greets, and then it fits the whole bayou setting.
Yeah.
Like it's perfect.
Let me hit another quickie right here. I gotta bring it up. So I don't know how many of you are I just have to do it this way. Are anime fans, but Netflix just released these images for it's Cowboy Bebop.
Oh, cool.
I know very little about Cowboy Bebop. I've seen just like clips of it, and I think I might have seen a little bit of it, but I don't know much about it. But I do love John Cho, and I think this would be great for him to actually this be a hit. I think this looks kind of
He
cool.
needs a hit.
He needs a hit.
I mean, he's everywhere. He works so much, but all this stuff is not great. Not because of him.
Unfortunately, most anything anime that gets put into live action and stuff, especially by America, usually ends up falling apart.
Yeah.
But I really hope that this actually turns out to be a good thing, because I would love to see this.
And that show has, like, the original show has so many avid fans. So I'm interested in what they will think of this.
It definitely deserves a good adaptation. If they're gonna do it. It didn't need one, but if they're gonna do one, it deserves a good one. Another quickie. Coming up is the 35th anniversary. This year is the 30th anniversary of Labyrinth, of Jim Henson's Labyrinth. So if you've never seen it, watch it. Also, it's going to be in theaters on September 12th, 13th, and 15th through
That's
Fathom.
coming up soon.
Yeah, through Fathom Events, so you can watch on the big screen. They just did a remaster on 4K remaster, so you'll get the nicest version they've had for a while. So go watch it. It's a great movie.
If you've never seen it, you could watch it on the big screen to see how big David Bowie's codpiece is.
Yeah.
It's huge. Yeah. And I'm sure it's even bigger on the big screen.
A lot of David Bowie crotch in this movie. So go watch it. It's going to be great.
And lots of ball work.
A lot of ball work as well.
It's a great movie. Like, it's one of my all-time favorites. And I actually play that soundtrack all the time while I'm working on stuff. If I'm not watching something, that's one of my go-to soundtracks to play.
Kenny pointed out something interesting too that I forgot about. The cast photos for
for Avatar.
For Avatar released. Let's talk about that real quick. There's not a lot to talk about, but they released the photos for the Avatar Last Airbender Netflix live adaptation. The original creators of the show did end up pulling out because they had some disagreements with Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a little worrying. But you know what? I like this cast. Looks good to me. Let me bring them up. It's Aang on the left, Katara, and then Ahsoka, and then what's his face? The fire guy.
That's his name. What's his face?
Ben Zuko. So yeah, and so look at that. They're Asian actors, and Aang is tiny. He looks so
tiny.
little, which is great because that's how when you first Aang, he's a tiny little boy.
Yeah.
So from the casting point of view, I'm excited. This looks great. I hope the show is good. Yes, Avatar: The Last Airbender. Read it, compress. I hope this is good because M. Night Shyamalan's version just kind of really made us really unhappy.
Ooh, nice segue.
Yeah, so maybe he'll do better, as maybe he did on Old, because I didn't see it.
No,
okay.
Old was pretty bad.
Again, I think he's one of those people who needs a friend. He just needs a friend to go, you have interesting ideas, but let me help you make them better.
Yeah, I before I even saw Old, I saw someone say, it might have been, I don't remember where it was, but I saw someone say M. Night cameos just take me out of the movie.
Oh yeah.
Because his cameo in this is more than a cameo. It's like, and as soon as you see him, you're like, oh. It's towards the beginning of the movie
too.
too.
Reduce those cameos to in the background. Put yourself in the movie. That's great. But just walk in the background. Do a Hitchcock did. Just put yourself in the background and it's good.
So I appreciate that M. Night is a director who wants to do things outside of the box. He wants to look at things a different way. I appreciate that about his work. But it just doesn't work out a lot. And I wish that, like you said, he had some friends or some people around him that could help him find ways to do what he wants to do in a way that works. Mm-hmm. Because I think that those ways exist. I think he just hasn't found them, and he's just... There's something about Old that I find really interesting.
It's like most of his movies, right? It's an interesting idea that just doesn't get executed right.
And even I don't know. we could probably do a whole episode on this, but I feel like no one would care. Um, but there's something so interesting about Ode story wise. There's something so interesting about Ode in its cinematography, because its cinematography is very weird. But for some reason, that weirdness doesn't. I usually like really weird stuff, but for some reason, the weirdness in all of this doesn't equate something good. It just kind of feels like something off. There, it's also weird to be watching this movie with so many actors that I really like and appreciate, and it feels like all the actors are on their own page and no one is meeting in the middle. Like some of the acting in Ode is very, and I have to leave this up to M. Night because he's the one directing them on what to do. Because I know all of these actors are capable of doing any of this stuff. I mean, you got fucking Gael Garcia Bernal. He's amazing. Some of the actors are playing Ode very serious, and some of the actors are playing Ode very over the top and campy. And when those two things meet, it doesn't. There's a weird feeling that happens, and I think that M. Night might have been trying to go for that weird feeling, because that also goes into the cinematography and the way that he displays what's happening, but it just ends up feeling off as opposed to being a commentary on what that weirdness is, if that makes sense. I was surprised. I will say that I went into Ode knowing a few of the actors that I like that are in it. I did not realize that Abby Lee was in Ode, who is someone that I've really grown to love. I don't know if you guys know, but I did this Neon Demon podcast. If you haven't listened to it, me and Roxana Haddadi and Jordan Crucchiola, who are also film critics, have this 8-part Neon Demon podcast where we just delve into that movie like in depth. And a lot of it is talking about how amazing Abby Lee is, because she's great in that movie and she's great in everything else. And when she popped up in Ode, I was like, oh, holy shit, it's Abby Lee. I didn't know she was in this. And she continued to be the only actor in the entire movie. And she has a modeling background. She's not like a trained actress. She somehow just has this natural talent. She's the only actor in the whole movie that finds a way to segue from serious moments to camp moments. Like, somehow she pulled it off, and the stuff that she does in this movie is kind of great to watch. And I don't know what happened with the rest of them. Like, they're either all camp or all serious, and then it just doesn't fit.
I think Phil Bridges, kind of explained how I see M. Night as well. He says, in my honest opinion, he's still chasing the it factor from The Sixth Sense. He doesn't have the Stephen King effect because he's not a great writer, but a good director. Yeah. And I do think that that's where he is I think he's a good director. He has really cool visual ideas and things. And I think they have to stop letting him write his own movies. It literally should be.
He has good ideas, but yeah, he needs.
It should be credited as story by. He should get the story by credit, and then have a screenwriter come write his movie for him. Get somebody who's a good screenwriter and come, and then I literally, you pair him with a good screenwriter, I think you could make something amazing. Yeah. But somehow these movie studios keep giving him money, and I don't know how he does that.
The movie studios are also seeking that Sixth Sense. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like M. Night hit such a big stride. I mean, at one point, M. Night was like Pixar. You know how like Pixar went so long without making a bad movie?
Yeah.
M. Night went a few movies, like a big handful of movies at the beginning of his career, and became like, you know, a branded twist. Like, what's M. Night going to do next? Everyone was looking forward to it. And I think that him and the studios are also trying to find that spark, trying to make that spark happen again. In addition to the fact that M. Night is one of the few directors of color that gets like as big of a bankroll as he does. I feel like that plays a part into it too. Like, we want this we can meet this demographic if we give out money to M. Night. I mean, from a white producer perspective, and they feel like they have to do that kind of thing, hit that kind of demographic. It's probably safer in their eyes to do it with M. Night than someone that they don't know.
Yeah, but why don't? Yeah, but why don't they find someone they know who's a good writer, and they go, "Hey, M. Night, we're gonna give you all this money to make this movie, but the one requirement is this guy has to write the script. You guys work together, figure it out. I don't care. Here's the money."
I feel like I don't know how big of an ego M. Night has because he seems like a nice guy. He seems
Yeah.
like a mellow guy, but I feel like he might be like, no, I have to do it. That just seems like everything that M. Night does, M. Night does. You don't ever see him really collaborate with anyone,
Yeah, and he
which
needs
is
to.
the problem.
And Kenny makes a good point. Is that his movies are produced inexpensively. That is much safer that they'll turn a profit. And great because they might not be great, but they might be people still want to go find out what the hell this movie is about, and I think that's his pull.
Yeah,
And
just
so people go see it, and he makes the money.
Right.
And his movies don't cost that much. They're like, yeah, here's more money. I don't care if the movie's good or not.
that's why I say M. Night has become like a brand. Like people want to go see what the twist is. Everyone expects a twist from a M. Night movie. Like, what is it?
And maybe that's the thing.
Whether it's good or bad, people will still go to see what it is.
And it's almost like we don't care if it's gonna be bad. We still just want to go find out what this movie's about. And
But I think that that's starting to lose between this and people, are still bringing up The Happening. I think that he's starting to lose some traction with
I think
that.
The Happening was definitely his like point.
Yeah.
That if he hadn't made The Happening, I think people would still be like, okay, I still kind of feel like he might do something. I think The Happening was what really pushed him into like a non.
And then there's Last Airbender.
Oh yeah, Last Airbender was done. I was
But that was after Happening. Happening had already pushed him over the edge.
man. It was we went to go see it as a group, all of Disney Junior or Playhouse at the time. I don't remember. And we were so excited, and we walked out the theater so sad that day. It was so depressing. Ugh. Anyways,
But I will tell you, if you ever see Abby Lee on a cast list, at least see it for her. I've literally seen maybe 5 things that she's been in, and she's every single time been the character, been the actress to steal scenes. And not all of those things are good, but she's always good in them. Like, Old is not a good movie, but she's good in Old. Or like The Dark Tower, she's got like a really, I mean, there's like a side character, and then she's like a side character to a side character. She's like where Harley Quinn was originally. And she still steals every scene that she's in, and that movie was awful. Like Matthew McConaughey and Idris Elba are good, but for some reason, not in that. That was just not a good movie. But Abby Lee still shows up and with her model figure, and I mean, if you have not seen Neon Demon by this point, please do yourself a favor.
yeah, we have a couple more things to hit on. What do you think about this Rocketeer remake coming to Disney Plus?
So I don't know much about it. Is it
It's a straight to it's a movie straight to Disney Plus.
an all black cast or something?
All black cast. And it's
That's cool.
It's a new person taking the mantle of the.
So is it a remake where it's just like they're retelling the story of Rocketeer from this perspective, or is it actually a sequel where it's a new character, a new black character who's
I don't know.
becoming the
Yeah,
Rocketeer?
I don't know exactly about that.
I mean, I'm up for either. I was
Yeah.
just curious. I think that it's great. I'm looking forward to it.
I hope my fear, because it's going straight to Disney Plus, and it's like, I hope that it's not like, oh look, we made a Rocketeer movie with people of color. Like, I hope that it does have, well, which I'm fine with that, but I don't want it to just be that. I don't want it to be
Right.
Disney's like, check mark, we did our diversity thing. See you guys later. I wanted to be good.
I think that the fact that it's going to Disney Plus is probably a plus for it because they'll take more risks with a Disney Plus movie.
Yeah, that's true. They'll
than
kind
a
of let them
theater
do
movie.
whatever they want. Yeah.
So the fact that it's going to Disney Plus actually bodes well for me. I think that I would probably enjoy it more for that because it won't have so much pressure on it.
That's true.
It can just be what it is.
It says the story focuses on a retired Tuskegee airman who takes up the Rocketeer mantle. So I think it's definitely after he might just be picking up
Yeah.
the mantle of the Rocketeer. So that'll be
And
interesting to see.
if you know, it's tying into the Tuskegee guys. I'm really interested in how they handle that.
Yeah, because that's this whole ordeal on its own. So
Yeah.
hopefully, it seems interesting. I'm interested in it. I like the idea, and I mean, I love the Rocketeer, and that's such a cool
Yeah.
The Rocketeer is such a cool character, and like just the idea of it. So I'm excited for that.
What do you think about all the Dune reactions? Because I feel like that's like the last big thing that we have on our list.
Yeah, Dune. So again, it just premiered at I forget what festival, movie film festival, just this past week, and so far the reviews have been real weird because people are like, it's great, it's beautiful, it's amazing, it's like this beautiful thing to look at, and it's great, but some people are very frustrated at it because it's meant to be a two-parter. So you don't quite there's an arc to it, and some people have said that it ends nicely, but there's definitely things that get unanswered. So there's a bit of frustration from that.
I think, you know, after Avengers, after Lord of the Rings, like it's fine for it to be a two-parter.
And I think maybe people who don't know Dune, not knowing that it's a two-parter, I think that's the problem.
So it should have been marketed better.
Because I think, from what I hear in the movie, it does. I think it does say part one or something like that. It does refer to it as part one. But like all the marketing, all that stuff, you don't know that. You think it's a complete story. So I think people are really frustrated. They're going that they're not getting a full complete story. And not only that, but the movie is already a hard movie to adapt. It is.
Yeah.
It is an incredibly difficult movie. So there are some things that people have commented more about the characters, how it works, that it didn't quite hit the mark. But it's an incredibly difficult movie to hit the mark on because the book is so nuanced, and if so much of it happens in people's heads and what they're thinking. So it is a hard movie to adapt. But even with all the frustrations, people seem to still have enjoyed it, and I think it's a really cool movie. And hopefully it gets enough oomph behind it that they'll make the next one. And Danny was pointing out that
I can't imagine that they won't make the next one.
They need to make then they have to make the next book to actually kind of make more sense of what this story happens. I just started reading the second book. Shut up, Siri. But
she had a thought about Dune.
But the fact that maybe that there's a discussion, I think maybe that's a good thing. Is it good? Is it not bad? I think the fact, because if it was just, it's great, people write it off. Like, okay. If it's bad, people write it off. But the fact that there's like, oh, it's this amazing, but I'm frustrated at this, I think that allows people to be intrigued by it and go find out what is so great, but what is frustrating about it.
Yeah.
I hope that the frustration doesn't outdo it, the good parts of it. But I mean, we're like October 22nd. We're coming up on it.
Yeah, a couple months. Less than 2 months.
2 months, yeah.
No, I think that discussion, like you were talking about, is an important thing, and I think that a lot of film criticism and the way that we think about movies and TV shows, that discussion is kind of not happening as much as it used to. It's kind of like, I mean, that's why I love doing this show, is because we actually discuss things, and things we love, we can still talk about the problems in, and things that we don't love, we can still pull out, the things that we actually do like in it. And not everything is so black and white. I think there's such a knee-jerk reaction right now to just be like, oh no, that movie was awful, I hate everything about it, or that movie was great, it's perfect, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Whereas like most movies are somewhere in the middle, and even movies that you really, really love, you can be critical of. And even movies that you hate, you can be like, but this little aspect was really great, and they should be proud of that. So I like when things create discussion like that. That's kind of what's been happening with Candyman too. Like the film discourse on Twitter with Candyman has just been like, these things are great, and these things are not so great, but they add up. They combine to add up.
I don't know. I guess I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know. But normally I'm not a big fan of. Sorry, let me start over. Most of the time, I'm of the idea that a movie should stand alone. You shouldn't have to read the book to understand a movie. The movie should stand on.
Yeah.
But almost feel that this movie needs a little bit of knowledge because it's so hard to adapt visually, I think, as a movie. It's almost, I can almost say that it's almost impossible to get everything out. So it's really finding out about how you can condense a little bit of things or readjust things so they make sense. So I do think that this is one of the things that if you read the book, you might get more out of it. Unfortunately, and normally I don't like that, but I think it's just the nature of the story and the nature of the book that is so complicated that it might be. If you haven't read the book, maybe it's a good time to read it.
Do you think that it would work better as a series that had more time?
Yes, it would absolutely work better as a series, but then we wouldn't get the crazy, amazing, beautiful visuals that I think we're gonna get.
I mean, have you looked at series lately?
Yeah,
it's starting to get there
yeah.
where like every episode of Discovery looks like a big budget movie. I think it's possible now, but obviously that's not the decision they made.
Yeah.
So
I think definitely a series would have been much better for that.
Yeah,
and I'm hoping that if this doesn't continue, that it'll make more movies that somebody picks up as a series later on and goes, this would make more sense, and I think it would, because you could totally get. Yeah, I mean, you could tell that first half of the book. If that first 2/3 of the book was one season, there's so much in that, and it's great.
Yeah. I think I mean I like the way that people are redefining storytelling in these mediums. Like we get Marvel movies that build up over like years and years and years of story, and then we get television shows that I don't know. Like I feel like the medium is changing in a way where you can do more different types of storytelling or finding different lengths of storytelling. And I think that if Dune wanted to be like a series of movies, that it absolutely could be. But it's just about finding that the first movie has to be a hit in order for them to go through it. Like the Marvel movies were not all great in the beginning. There were some misses, but they allowed it to grow. Mm-hmm. And now that we have all this backstory, it's easy for them to just input things and give us new stuff. And it would be nice if something like Dune that needs so much backstory could do something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, give them time. Great. I think this is it. This is where we.
I think so.
We I threw a lot. There was a lot, actually, more than I thought. I was really worried about. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. And then I started making a list. And I was like, oh, there's a bunch of stuff to talk about.
I can just talk for hours. It's not a problem.
But yeah, a couple of things to let you guys know. So we're back. I think weekly. We haven't talked about it much, but yeah, I think we're back weekly.
I think we're back.
Literally, it was just like, let's go back. We're back in the studio. Things are going to be shifting around a little bit, particularly with Cinephila. I think we're going to do it. We already said we're going to do it. Cinephila is going to be spinning off into its own YouTube channel soon-ish. So it will no longer live inside of Perception Studio. It will still, I mean, obviously, it's still part of Perception Studio, but we realized that Cinephilia is so different than from all the other content that I think it deserves to be in its own channel. I still haven't decided if we're going to still stream it live here on Perception Studio channel or Cinephila. It's all going to change. Let us know what you think. What it's easier for you to see live? Is it easier to just be under Perception Studio, or does it even matter? We don't know. That's going to be some like playing around that we're going to have to do.
But we're also going to be doing some non-live stuff, like putting together some video essays about film and about particular films and about particular topics in film. So it's really exciting.
Yeah, so this live version of Cinephila will just be a little bit of what everything that we're going to try to build on Cinephila on its own. So we're experimenting, and we'll see. But yeah, we're definitely not going to stop doing the lives, because actually we do like engaging this way. I just think that there's other things we could also do on top of that might work. Do you have any recommendations for today?
Oh, recommendations. I didn't even see. It's been so long. I forgot about recommendations.
I know, I didn't either till like 10 minutes ago. I was like, I don't have anything to recommend.
What have I been watching? Because the stuff that I would recommend, we've already been discussing.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, but I think it was something we didn't discuss. Let me give my recommendation. If you haven't watched Bad Batch on Disney Plus, it was great.
I have not watched that yet.
Oh, it's so good. Unfortunately, you do have to have watched Clone Wars and be caught up on the Disney stuff.
Yep, see.
Because it literally, Bad Batch is literally the next season kind of Clone Wars. So, but I loved it. It did such a cool thing of expanding on these characters they introduced in Clone Wars and giving us a little bit more lore and like starting to expand into, and they're starting to connect points that like, I think all the series are starting to connect things in these big gaps of time, and they're starting to like put things together, which has been really interesting to see. I love the characters. It's literally D. Bradley Baker doing slightly different versions of the same voice, and it's great. It's like you get to how talented this man is, because he can have the same voice but make it unique to each character. Oh, it's amazing, and it's a great show. I'm enjoying it a lot.
I got something to recommend.
Yeah.
It's a podcast, actually. So our friend that we used to work with, Brandon Wagner.
Yeah.
He's doing a podcast. He's started something called the House of Elevation, where he's interviewing people from all different walks of life and getting different perspectives and stuff. One of the people he interviewed was our friend Ryan Harris. But he interviews a lot of other people as well. He interviewed me as well, but that episode hasn't gone up. I don't know what's happening with that. But yeah, check out the House of Elevation podcast. I think it's worth hearing, like, different perspectives, queer perspectives, black perspectives, more perspectives than just that. Yeah.
And Brandon's great. He's
Brandon's
such
great.
like a lovely human being.
Yeah.
Funny and good energy.
He's one of those people who, you know, walks into a room and lightens the room. Like, he's always very joyful. For example, if you've not met him or seen him, he just recently, just so you know what type of person he is, he just recently had all of his hair braided with like UV hair.
Oh wow!
So it like glows in the dark. And he's always like got really long hair that's either like rainbow, or he like considers himself a unicorn. And he's just always so happy. Like, it's just always a happy time when you're around him. And that energy just kind of flows off of him. So
Yeah.
I'm sure that the podcast is full of inspiration and wit and happiness and joy and all that kind of stuff. So listen.
Yeah, watch it. He's great. Bringing the Batch Pat season 2. It's coming. They announced Bad Batch season 2 is happening. Okay, well, we're gonna wrap it up there. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. We're back, and I'm glad you guys all came back to hang out with us, because I was worried there was like not gonna be anybody here.
I'm glad you didn't forget about us.
Forget about us. Yay. So we'll be back next week, next Monday, same time, 5:30. And if all change again, we're all in this like little weird flux of trying to figure things out. So we'll let you know when things change. But for right now, Mondays 5:30, same as always.
Yep.
So thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll
Cinephila
you later at the same time.